Good afternoon. It is 4:01, Tuesday, July the 18th, 2023, and call to order the Pasco Public Facilities District Board meeting. Roll call, Debbie?
Yes. Carolyn Bowdish. Leonard Dietrich.
Yes.
Marie Gillespie.
She's supposed to be online. She's supposed to be online. I've not seen her yet. I'll let her in when I see her, and I'll let you know.
Thank you. Spencer Gillette.
Here.
And Mark Morissette.
Here.
Great. That's three attending at this time.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Pasco Public Facilities District Board meeting. Agenda packets are available on the City of Pasco's website at www.pasco-wa.gov under the Public Facilities District Board webpage. This meeting is also being televised live on PSC-TV channel 191 on Spectrum Cable in Pasco and Richland, and is streamed on the city's Facebook page, website, YouTube channel, and Microsoft Teams. Lastly, the public may submit their comments and or questions by contacting the Pasco Public Facilities District Executive Director or Pasco City Clerk. Welcome, everyone.
Yes.
Debbie.
You'd like me to read? Okay. So this is the recognition for visitors and public comments. This item is provided to allow the public the opportunity to bring items to the attention of the Pasco Public Facilities District Board or to express an opinion on an issue. Its purpose is not to provide a venue for debate or for posing questions with the expectation of an immediate response. Some questions require consideration by the board over time and after a deliberative process with input from a number of different sources. Some questions are best directed to staff members who have access to specific information. Public comments are normally limited to 3 minutes by each speaker. Those with lengthy messages are invited to summarize their comments and or submit written information for consideration by the PPFD board outside of formal meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Regarding public comments, is there anybody in person or online who would like to speak at this time?
I don't see anybody online, and I've received no questions or requests before this meeting.
All right, thank you, Matt. Agenda item number 3, approval of minutes.
I move the minutes be approved of June 20th as presented.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the June 30, 2023 meeting minutes as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then all those in favor, please signify by voting yes. And if you're opposed, signify by voting no.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. Item number 4, claims approval. Darcy, are you going to walk us through this?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'd be glad to walk you through it.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Before you, as part of your packet, you had an expense ledger detail listing, and that is showing the payments that were processed through finance in the month of June. All the items on there are things that you've seen before, just related to this month instead of a prior month. So there's the regular legal services, our payment to the regional PFD, and then of course our payment for services, administrative services. So nothing that's new to be seen as compared to past expenses.
And just to be clear, that's the Kennewick PFD,
Right.
the regional PFD.
Yes.
It's not actually the regional, since we have so many PFDs in the Tri-Cities.
Yes, I should say, yes, Kennewick's PFD that we participate in funding.
Darcy, just for clarity's sake, and I was shuffling papers, which I do well. What is the total amount of the claims that we're going to approve at this meeting for July? Is it clear to see on the financial report here? And also, so the meetings reflect what is that total?
Let me
The meeting
double
minutes?
check real quick.
Okay. Hi, Caroline.
I believe it should be, let me back this, I have to make one calculation.
But I made it
Toads in the way.
My computer's timed me out, which is keeping me safe. The total. The total is $99,953.
Okay, Debbie, if you could please reflect that in the minutes, and then we're ready to go. So now I entertain a motion to approve the July 2023 Pasco Public Facilities District expenses.
I move to approve the July 2023 PPFD expenses.
And is there a second? And it was second by Leonard. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Hearing no votes, the motion carries. So then, Darcy, if you could please continue with item number 5, the financial report.
Yes, sir. So the next packet of information or financial information that you have is first the balance sheet. So that's kind of showing where we are at this point through the end of June as far as activity that has occurred on our cash and payables. So that you can see that the cash balance as of the end of June is $1,230,000. I'm going to round a little. And then we have one item that needs to be paid, that $10,000. But other than that, your cash balance is you have funds available at this point, at the end of June, of $1.2 million. If everything was paid.
Very good. Are there any questions for Darcy?
Darcy,
Yeah.
what is our average monthly income from the sales tax?
Well, when we get, okay, let's look here. We're going to go just a little further when we look at the monthly cash flow, and you can kind of see the different amounts. And it's bounced a bit around. You know, we first received it in March. The average would be, let's see, I can calculate that, but it's about 326. So it's about $360,000 is the average for these March through June receipts. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, we're working on that. Yeah, I think soon we'll have access to get the details, and when we get it, we can, download it from the state's website or interface and get some information back and email it to you so you have it and don't have to wait till the next meeting. So,
Super, thank
yep,
you very much.
you bet.
Hey, Leonard, could you remind me, please, correct me if I'm wrong, you were asking that so you could have the separation between like the store retail sales tax
Yeah,
collection
between
versus the
regular
construction?
Sales tax and construction. Construction
May vary.
is very fluctuant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if someone kills a project for a year or something like that,
Yes, that would be
then we
interesting.
know it ahead of time.
Yes, that'd be interesting to know. Okay. Are there any more questions for Darcy?
And
Go ahead.
I was going to say I can talk a little bit. I mean, there's not a lot of other information. There's the balance sheet that we just talked about, and then just a kind of supporting the activity of the fund is the budget performance report, which shows what our original adopted budget is, and we will want to update that now that we have kind of more known information. It just helps, I think, everyone forecast what's going to happen a little bit and have a plan, of course. So we'll do that soon with your approval, and then the year-to-date transactions, which are more detailed on the final monthly cash flow spreadsheet. And so we can kind of see, looking through the full year, what we've actually received by month, and then what we kind of think budgetarily will happen through the rest of the year. And so that's where you can see those revenues for the every month coming in for the new tax that you're receiving for the projects that are the big project that you're getting ready to undertake and working hard on. So there's that information that has a little more detail and a forecast look also. And so just wanted to give you,
I think after 5, 6, 7 months, it will really start to flow out.
it is nice.
It's one that's-
I agree.
Get everything on base.
It's very nice to get some actual numbers to compare to. So
Darcy, on the budget performance report,
Yeah.
refresh my memory. The 34 PFD Pasco support,
that is the PFD paying the city for administrative, financial
right.
services that we provide.
Now, the question is, why is that in addition to the 500,000? If it's us paying the city?
The 500,000. Are you looking at the 500,000? That's the.
Under PFD sales tax, 500,000.
Oh,
The revenue totals
I'm
is
sorry.
520.
I'm explaining the wrong thing. That is money that comes back from when we give funds to Kennewick PFD.
Right.
We get some funds back, and that is the money that comes back from them.
That's the total on a monthly basis? Or this is,
See, Darcy, if I could correct me if I'm wrong on understanding this, I think, isn't that we have the original diversion coming in from the original project to help with the convention center? And then it's our collection that flows through to the Kennewick PFD?
It is. There's an interlocal agreement, and
Yes.
it's part of the language of the interlocal agreement of how much money that we pay to them, and then we get a little money back. And this is that little revenue that comes back.
there's a fixed amount that they get to keep. And we get the balance, correct?
I'd have to double check what the fine details are on the contract. I've read
It just
it, but
seems weird
not
that
really
it's a
recently.
nice round number like that.
So, Darcy, my memory, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that the what came back went to the city's general fund instead of us.
This is report. This isn't going to the general fund. This is actually coming to the PFD. So.
That's my
And
confusion.
Yeah.
how I can refresh my memory, and when I come back, either next meeting I can explain it better, or I can send an email that kind of lays out the details of what's happening for that revenue source and just the agreement between the two cities and who's getting what revenue and how the interlocal agreement is directing that.
I believe the details of that haven't been discussed in over a year since, because it's not been in detail, and it's also, I believe, there's a sunset date potentially on it, so maybe it'd be
There
an
is.
opportunity to have as a
Yes,
subject
right.
on an agenda
Take a look
in
at
the
those,
future.
Yes.
explain the whole.
Go through it again.
You know, if I might, what we might do that I think would be helpful, if we had a one-pager that says, here's the agreement, and I remember the number was like $150,000.
Okay.
And anything over that came back to us. We could understand the flow and then the time that is left in this obligation, because we're coming into a circumstances where the dollars are gonna start
Matter.
making more
I mean,
sense to
they always
us.
matter, but that yes, I understand. So no, I would be glad to look at it again and give a synopsis on a kind of one-page piece of data.
Work on that.
I think that'd be very helpful,
Okay.
yes.
That'd be good.
Work on that and strive for either the August or the September meeting.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Yes, we can get that information. I just can't pull it out of my brain
Sure.
right now.
Thank
but-
you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments for Darcy? Thank you, Darcy.
Thank you.
So we'll move to agenda item 6, reports from committees. The Design and Construction Committee, is there anything we should report or wait till you?
I would suggest it's going to be covered later on the agenda, and would appreciate particularly the design committee's input on some of the stuff that we've been doing recently, and it'll be later on when Heath and I are talking.
Very good. Regarding the Audit and Finance Committee, we did not have a reason to meet since our last meeting, so there's no report today. Item number 7, old business. A, alternative contracting PRC review, July the 27th. Heath Gardner and Matt Watkins.
I'll kick this off. That's okay. And I think the tone of this meeting, we don't have any action items from this point on. Last month was chock full of them, so tonight is more report. And I'd say it's fair to summarize that the PFD has been very busy and will be busy until next Thursday, getting ready for the state review to allow us to do progressive design build. So it's kind of as an introduction to that. We've been working diligently and with also the great help of the City of Pasco Public Works Department to form a team to be able to present to the state. We also engaged Robin Thaxton. I see I made a typo there, and so take an R out of her last name. And we have a dress rehearsal scheduled for Monday that would also include Mr. Morissette and Ms. Gillespie for the meeting on Thursday. So this is a very critical meeting because, as you're aware, the Winaha group has been helping us ramrod and stay with the schedule and the goal of trying to get this facility completed in 2025. And this is a critical step for that. If we're going to pass it, but if for some reason we weren't, it would probably delay things a couple of months. So next week is a very critical step to get the state to approve doing progressive design build for our organization. And with that, I appreciate Heath's thoughts on this process. You've become very engaged with us and have been making sure we've been doing a lot of things here in the past month.
Hey, Heath, just for the board's benefit, could you please just explain why we have to go through this process to be able to choose the progressive design build?
Sure. So in the state of Washington, public entities are bound to procure construction contracts through the traditional design bid build process. So that's where you go out and hire a designer, design the project, then you bid it out publicly, and you are required to accept the lowest responsive bid. That's how traditional public works projects get done. So in Washington State, quite a few years back now, they underwent a process to begin to authorize what they termed alternative project delivery. And the reason for that is because there was a big call from public entities that, hey, the design bid build process isn't the best process, and our projects aren't as good as they could be. And so they authorized the use of several different alternative project delivery methods, one of which is design build, and specifically in our case, progressive design build, which is splitting hairs some, but in order to get approval, though, to do that, entities have to go and submit an application to the Project Review Committee, which is a committee formed by the Project Review Board, the CPARB, Capital Project Review Board, essentially. They've got to approve you in order to do this. So that's the process we're going through. And that's going to allow us to do progressive design build, which is a different procurement method. So instead of procuring a designer and designing the entire project and then going out to bid on the street and taking the low bid, we'll now be able to go out and procure a design builder, which will be a single point contract for design and construction. And that'll be a negotiated procurement, so it'll be based on qualifications and not on price. There are price factors in the selection, but they're weighted less than in a hard bid situation. So it'll be a qualifications-based procurement for a design builder. Does that cover it?
Yes, thank you very much.
That presentation, do you have to go to Olympia or someplace to do it?
It's virtual, actually.
Okay.
We used to have to go to Olympia, but COVID changed that. So now it's virtual. So we're going to be virtual. I'm not sure I like that as much, but it's we won't be able to look them in the eye as good. But no, it's virtual, and it's next week, next Thursday, 27th. And we will know right away at the end of that meeting whether we're being approved or not, and we should be successful.
Can us as board members zoom into that meeting?
Yeah, it's a public meeting. I believe anybody can probably view it. I don't know how that works though. We zoom into it to present. I assume if somebody in the public wants to watch, they just zoom in and they.
I'll work on seeing if we can get a link to that. I would just note that we will have 2 board members participating in that, so if other board members do observe it, would suggest just observe.
Well, exactly. I have not gone through the dress rehearsal, you know?
We wouldn't want it confused with a public meeting.
Yeah.
We haven't
with a
even told you
quorum.
how to dress for the Zoom yet. Yeah.
Would Spence, is this PRC group, are they a state authorized committee or is it an industry
It's state.
authorized committee?
It's a state authorized.
So I would imagine
committee.
Spence would be through the state's webpage, but if you could find them a link, that
Well,
would be.
Yeah, we can easily find out how somebody watches it. That's not-
What time is that?
We believe our time is 1 or 1:30. Was it 1 or 1:30? 1 or 1:30.
So Spence, don't be showing up 1:30 at the state capitol. I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. They won't let you in.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is a group that we got to get approval from. We should be successful on that. But they're charged with making sure that projects that get approved and entities that get approved to do this process are have taken the steps to be prepared to manage that process. So they'll be scrutinizing your choice to hire us, and they'll be scrutinizing whether or not you've got a good plan and the project's likely to be successful, because their job is to make sure that they don't approve projects that end up failing and costing the public money.
And not just in terms of the concrete crumbling, but financially.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, were you able to find that slide that we talked about last Friday to present, to show the board?
Is it a potential background?
Huh?
Is
Was
it
it
a
what?
potential background?
No.
No, it was the
It's-
one,
It's the one with the chevron arrows overlapping and everything. We did talk about that. I kind of forgot about that, Mark.
did we write the check this month for these guys?
Well,
Well, that's okay.
I don't
Another
remember if
item
I
on
was
the
supposed
list
to
to
get
do.
it, but if
Yeah.
I was, I forgot about it.
Okay.
Is it okay to talk about that slide for just a minute, or do we want to wait till the next one, Matt?
The old business and the other business section is a bit of a free-flowing thing, because the bulk of what we're talking about is that thing next week, so I had to think of
And
I
then
can
is this the-
probably pull that up on my computer.
Yeah, that'd be great. So then, is this the appropriate time to talk about Robin and her background and her experience and participation with the PRC? You
Well,
got that?
and actually, that's the next section, so we could flow into that, but I know that
Let's
Mr.
wrap it up,
Dietrich
please.
has a question, I believe.
Yes, go ahead, Leonard.
If I might ask, the process, okay, along with the city, have supplied information as to how things will flow to this committee in Olympia.
Yep.
And so they already have a background of what's going on and how it's going to be monitored.
Yeah, our application has been accepted, and that has a lot of their answers. And then we should be receiving written questions back from them this week that we'll need to answer
Okay.
before the meeting. And then the meeting, we present the project, talk about our plan, talk about how it will be managed, and who will have responsibilities and how the decisions will be made. That's one thing they really focus on. That's one of the reasons that we were trying hard to get that responsibility matrix approved, because we need to demonstrate to them that the PFD has a decision-making process that will result in timely decisions for the project, so the project won't get bogged down.
So they will have background, you'll give an overview in conversation with them, and then they make that decision at that point.
Yeah, we present for like 20 minutes, and then they hit us with questions for 20 minutes, and then they deliberate for 10 minutes, and then they give us their decision, and they give us advice.
Heath, you'd mentioned last Friday there might be a question or two, a specific question or two of this board. Do you remember, just give an example of what that question or two may be?
I mean, they're gonna wanna know, one of the things that Matt's preparing to answer is they're gonna wanna know, hey, what's the process for getting this property nailed down, right? Cause they're gonna notice that, oh, we don't have a property yet. Are you gonna have a property? Cause that could bog the project down if you don't have property, right? And so Matt's preparing to talk about that and that process and what the likely schedule is. And then they'll probably want to ask about funding too, because they're going to notice our answer. You know, they ask about how the thing gets funded and everything, and the questions we've already answered, and we've said that there'll be a bond that'll be issued to fund the construction. And that's another thing they're going to probably want to hear from Matt on, is how that process is likely to go and what that schedule looks like, so they can determine whether it's a viable project. If you go into that group and you're like, well, we haven't figured out how we're going to fund it yet, and we're not sure what property we're buying, they're probably not going to be super excited about approving it, right? But we should be able to pass that test. We have a good plan and good information on that.
And they're going to make a decision right then and there in front of us?
Yeah, they usually do. Yeah.
Do we have a chance for rebuttal if necessary, or?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe they actually. If you read the agenda for the thing, I think there's 5 minutes for discussion or whatever. But
And
yeah,
which day is this exactly?
process next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
July 27th at 1:30
27.
p.m.
So our intent is to take the project team. So it's going to be Matt and myself and a couple of other Winnahoff people. And then it's going to be Mark and Marie as well. And then Steve Worley from the city has agreed to attend with us as well, to demonstrate the connection with the city and the partnership with the city.
Are you gonna sit in a room and be broadcast?
We have been advised, oh, and I'm sorry, and also Robin Thaxton, who we're going to talk about in B, she'll also be there. We've been advised to Zoom in separately, because then they can see our faces better, because we get our own boxes on their screens. So we've been advised to do it that way.
But there's a little bit of stagecraft we're going to be working as well. And I think that's probably a good segue into special counsel. While Robin Thaxton has, the Winaha group has already engaged Robin, we also went through a process for special counsel that you approved last month. Robin Thaxton, our firm, was actually chosen again by the, we did a evaluation group that include Mark and Marie, and so Robin's come on board, and she is a powerhouse rock star that also teaches progressive design build courses, and so she's helping us through that process as well.
And she's an attorney.
She's an attorney and a consultant. Yeah, she ticks a lot of boxes and has a very niche expertise.
And I think, if I remember correctly, she's currently working with the City of Pasco Public Works Department.
Exactly.
She is.
So we do have the benefit.
She knows us and we know her.
The city of Pasco is in the middle of their first progressive design build project, and that they also use the assistance of Robin Thaxton. So they have been before the board before us. Also, the couple of other Tri-City entities have been using it. It's more popular. West Richland used it. I don't remember the specific project. And then I also believe the mental health facility that Benton County and Franklin County are working on is also going progressive design build. So I think you're seeing an emerging trend where it's being used more and more in the Tri-Cities. So we're not the first and not the last.
Yeah, the Tri-Cities is embracing it a lot. Robin Thaxton is a known entity. She's very well known at the PRC and the CPARB. She's just finishing a stint as on the CPARB board, so she's very well known there, and the PRC likes to see a specific responsibility on your org chart for your project of a design build advisor, and we took the step of bringing her on as in that role under Winaha, and then she did respond to our advertisement for outside counsel. She's been selected, and so she's on 2 places in our org chart now. And really it'll end up just being one part where we'll just move her up there. But the PRC is going to be very happy that we engaged her and that she's part of our team, and that should help put us over the top.
Okay, you don't see any conflict with her working for both of us individually?
No, in fact, I think we're just gonna move her to the outside counsel box and have her just only work for you guys. And we're working that out with Matt. Some of her services we felt were under our contract, and so we're gonna pay for those. And so if we just move her, then Matt and I are gonna work out how Winnaha reimburses the PPFD for that.
In the way I understand it, then actually Robin is gonna be with us now until opening day.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is that
she will.
correct?
Yeah. The heavy lifting for her is through the procurement and into the first part of the design build process, and then she'll fade into the background, but she will be available to us all the way through the project if things come up that we need to advise with her on.
Will she be following it to some degree all the way through to inform us if there's any bear traps that we've set?
Yeah, I mean, yes, she
Okay.
will.
That's
She'll keep up with it to the extent that we keep her informed, and we can keep her informed. But she'll work, once that procurement's done, she'll work more like an outside counsel where she just kind of it lays dormant until we need her or if we need her, right? Then you call her up and say, hey, this happened and we need legal advice, then that's what we'll do.
Okay.
Yep. And that process, if you want to talk about the RFQ process, went smoothly for the outside counsel. We, in accordance with the guidelines of the kind of procurement policy you guys set forth in a decision and board meeting, we advertised publicly for that, and we did receive 2 responses, which one was Robbins and the other one was Perkins Coie. So those were like 2 of the biggest, baddest construction lawyers in the state, I guess. And so that was awesome to have those options and choices. We formed a selection committee for that, went over those. The selection committee was made up of the design and construction committee, so Mark and Marie, and then Matt and I, and we evaluated those and scored them. And Robin was the highest scoring respondent. And so we did notify the respondents, and we're in the process of negotiating with Robin on an agreement, which will be a simple engagement letter with her firm, and we're working on that right now.
Couple of takeaways for me on the Friday afternoon meeting is, so Spence, your question, just to kind of put a little bit of a bow on that there. My takeaway was that the PRC process, the Department of Commerce review, that these are really the checks and balances in the system to protect the public's interest. That was my takeaway. And then also, would you please, since we're into this part of the agenda, there was that chart, and this was really important to me, the big takeaway for the whole afternoon.
The one that showed the design build process?
Yeah, what did you call it, the chevron?
It'll take me a few minutes, but I could probably find it on my computer.
Would you please, if you can? And then before you find it though, there was that part in the middle that was the big takeaway for me the entire afternoon. And the part where it was talked about this and validation, there was that meeting of the minds part of the.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so in Progressive Design Build, they in the training for Progressive Design Build in the best practices book and things, there's the first phase after you procure a design builder, they like to call that validation phase. And the reason is the reason you do design build, one of the reasons that you pick up speed with design build is that you get everybody at the table. You build the whole team right at the beginning before there's any sort of design work or anything. And then you work into it. In the validation phase, is where you undergo a process that can happen fairly fast, but you can go through a process to basically do fact finding and ensure that the budget meets the the money available, right? And that the scope and budget align, right? So that's one of the things you'll get from your design builder pretty fast is you go through a process with them where they'll say, hey, I think you guys did all right. Your budget and your scope are generally in alignment. We can meet this, right? And that's a really good part of the process because that's something, if under traditional, you'd have to do that in fits and starts during design, right? But with this process, you're gonna get that validation phase and have everybody, the whole team agreeing, nodding up and down that we're in a good place, budget meets scope, right? And if it's off, then you find that out too. Hey, we think your budget and scope are a little off, and then you can start working on that right away and get it in the box before you're half through design, right? The traditional design bid build, and of course, skilled managers manage that process pretty well too, but you have less assurance that you're on budget during that process, right? Because you're waiting for certain milestones to be able to check the budget, right? And then if it comes in high, all of a sudden you're in a place where you got to make tough decisions and maybe go backwards and maybe lose time and stuff. With design build, you start with the budget and then design to that budget.
So then what it protects is we have this process where there's like the first third we're thinking through and deciding what we want, and then we have the middle part where we have the meeting of the minds with the contractor, and then the last third is go do. Are you gonna search for that right now then?
I'll see if I can find
All
it.
right,
Yeah.
very good. I really appreciate that. I think that'll,
If it would be possible, actually, just to make sure, and how about if we proceed with the new business section, because I.
very good. Yeah, you just speak up, Heath. Very good. Thank you.
Not to cut that section off, but hopefully, I think we've gone largely through A and B of old business, unless there are any other questions, Mr. Morissette, knowing that Pete's gonna come back on one part of that. I see Ms. Babish has her light on.
So it's all right if we move on, everybody? Nobody's, let's go. So new business, committee backups, Matt Watkins.
And this has not been a problem specifically as of yet, but the process or the committee structure that we have set up is working, I think, well. And I particularly appreciate Mr. Morissette's and Ms. Gillespie's involvement and continued involvement. We've not had much of a need for the Audit and Finance Committee yet, but I anticipate some of that. But the question I think will come up is if one of the members is not available, if the two members remaining would like to have a backup, I'd like for you to consider having a backup. And I think this can be accomplished. We mentioned that not all board members are available all the time or have different commitment needs. But if we had a single backup for the two committees, and I'm looking over at Mr. Gillette if he would be willing to serve as a backup for both the design and construction and the audit and finance, if they needed the person, and Mr. Gillette were to be willing to be a designated backup.
That'd be fine.
Very good. Do we need to vote on that or anything, or just we do it? It's just that,
I'm trying to recall when we set up the committees, I believe there was consensus by the board. I don't think, we definitely did not have a formal resolution on that. And I think, and I would defer to Mr. Ferguson, if we can designate that with consensus of the board. I see Mr. Ferguson's nodding, so.
Yeah, so we're talking about backups, and so.
Backups.
Yeah, so, yeah, if you didn't take formal action, and these aren't formal subcommittees of the board that require some kind of appointment other than informal consensus of the board, then yeah, however you initially created them, you would be allowed to also I guess, supplement them.
Okay, so would it be a two-step process? Like we need to pass a motion that we are now adopting an alternative, an alternate member, and then that would go through, and then we would nominate somebody.
You could do it that formal, but I don't know that it's as necessary to do the two-step process. It would be nice to be able to go through an appointment process for an alternate. I mean, just a simple motion vote though could handle that, I think. But yeah, I don't think it would necessarily need to be too intense, because these are pretty informal boards that are really subcommittees just providing extra information to the board as a whole. So I think it sounds fine to me.
Okay.
If the board would be most comfortable with it, if Mr. Dietrich, if you wanted to make a motion and reaffirm that the Design and Construction Committee is Marie and Mark, with Spence as a backup, and that the Audit and Finance Committee is Mark and Caroline with Spence as a backup, I think you could do it as a voice motion.
So the word we're using is backup or is it alternate?
Alternate or backup, either way.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd entertain a motion that we adopt a
Alternate?
alternative member that would be available in case there is a member that is not able to show up for that meeting. And I would ask that Mr. Spencer Gillette be that person.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
So it's been moved and seconded to add an alternate position to the committees,
Yes.
and that Spence Gillette has been asked to be that person. Okay, is there any further discussion? All those in favor is the motion as stated, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
And opposed, say no. Hearing no votes, the motion carries. So Spence, I would just like to add, as being the alternate, what I've learned so far about being on both committees. The meetings are a lot shorter if you show up late. So,
Thanks, Rajiv.
yeah. That's why I'm the chair, Spence. Okay, you found it? Very good. Let's go back to this slide, please.
Do you have a fob? Or we'd need to copy the file to a key. It'll take a minute for it to get through the network, but that would work too. So yeah, if you want to forward that to me. Okay. Well, after you send that, if you want to start up an owner's representative report, you can.
Could we
mix that
skip
in.
to executive director report and then come back to the owner's rep while he's working on this?
If the board and Heath are amenable, that'd be fine.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
2, Section 9B, the Executive Director report. First, I would just note that you have a laminated copy of the decision matrix in front of you. We do anticipate that to change as it evolve as we go through, but that is a hard copy printout for your convenience. I just also wanted to augment I went through an 8-hour training with Robin Thaxton, actually, on progressive design build. Myself and Heath and also Jake went to it as well. Very productive and helpful training to detail this progressive design build is a wonderful process if you treat it right and it works for your particular project. So I just wanted to share that your bench is getting deeper on the abilities of progressive design build, and I think I'm certainly enthused and excited about this as a way to get you an aquatics facility. Another thing I wanted to report on, just wanted to give you an update, and that is going to come to a head next week because it'll probably be a question. Broadmoor property and what I call a campus concept. Since April or May, when you decided to choose Broadmoor, been working especially with Ben Franklin Transit, City of Pasco, and vis-a-vis Mid-Columbia Library and also potential hotel. In getting a piece of property. I have a meeting specifically tomorrow with Pasco, and I think the tone's going to change to where we need an actual property and want to be able to close on it, say in the September or October October timeframe. As you also mentioned too last month, looking at 6, 10, or 6, 8, or 10 acres as an option. So that's on that as well. We've done some preliminary looking of where we would locating on the site, how we would all locate next to each other. We don't have any actual plans yet, but there have been a couple of sketches floated. I think the shift is going to be I think we're going to be one of the first ones out of the box to go commit to do that. So I think we're going to end up probably picking a place on the site, making sure that it does work with the others, and moving forward so that we can actually have a survey done for this is the piece of property that we have. I'd say that's just sort of a brief summary of the property efforts. Questions along the way? Spence, you had one?
You know, Matt, when it comes time to sit down with Broadmoor and negotiate that land cost, I think this aquatic center brings a certain amount of value to that piece of property. Now that Costco evidently is out of the picture, we're going to be an anchor on that project. And I think they need to be aware of that and price our land accordingly when negotiations occur.
If you might be a good backup to have at one particular meeting like that.
I may be getting good at backing up.
Also, and I wanted to just give an update to the different steps along the way. Where you had asked me to have a plan or a goal to do this facility, and I set June 25th or June 2025. I can also say that working with Winaha, and as we're getting deeper into the process, the end of this project is becoming more clear to me, and so being able to say those dates, there's more clarity or more light at the end of the tunnel. One of a couple of the steps, of course, having money through bonding, and then you can't do bonding until you have a state commerce review. Was not quite ready to present that for an interlocal agreement with Commerce this month, but we'll have it for next month. I just got a hold of the head of that department. Wanted to be clear about the expectations and the requirements. So we have been working on that, but we'll be working more in depth to get that done. That'll kick off about a 3-month process. For that. So expect to see something on the meeting next month to actually enter an agreement with Commerce to do that. And then it'll probably be in the $20,000 or $30,000 range because nothing, of course, is for free. That I think are the highlights of the things I wanted to report to you. It's also intended to be a little bit shorter of a night tonight. Last month was a little bit longer, so that if you wanted to get out earlier, you could. And any questions or comments on my report?
Yeah, just a comment on there. I've done a lot of thinking on this since 60 days ago when Spence first brought up, ought to be 10 acres. And, we talked about 6 and all that. I believe that we ought to look at a 10-acre partial given the dynamics that may be happening amongst a different municipality. That's just my input.
So even more 6, 8, or 10 with a bullet on 10. And that, okay. I would also note the property owner has been reiterated multiple times that they're able to adjust that area of the site. My anticipation is Road 108 to be an access for an aquatics facility and potentially a hotel. The question mark is, will a community center and transit be able to do more of the interior of the site? And that's kind of one thing I want to work out to make sure everybody's happy with that. Mr. Gillette.
I think that's the value of this project. We're going to draw potentially a hotel. We're going to draw the transit center, potentially a library. And so hence my comment about the value of us being there.
Yeah, and not to say that the city has spent tens of thousands of dollars in promoting this piece of ground to enhance it.
With that, report's concluded, and if you wanted to bounce back up to what I've inserted in the agenda is the owner's representative report. And you said you emailed something to me, Heath? Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
You see it?
I see an email you forwarded from Robin.
Yeah, and if you open that link, it's
Oh, the
on
link,
page
okay.
5. That was the easiest place
Got
to
it.
find it.
Boy, well, hopefully it's trustworthy.
If you open that, that's on page 5,
Okay.
and we can look at that first if you like. It's that piece at the top there, I think.
Okay.
I think is what Mark was looking for.
Yes, that's it, Heath.
Blow it up.
Yeah, can you kind of walk us through from left to right there? And especially that validation point?
How's that for size? One more?
There you go.
Oh, that's good. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is the graphic. This is right out of, I mean, you're actually looking at the training that we all attended. It was a specific deep dive into specifically progressive design build that we went to, and it was great. I learned a few things, and I think everybody learned a few things. But if you look at this, it kind of illustrates one of the benefits is that all these things can kind of overlap, right? And that's one of the things that this graphic kind of shows is that this stuff overlaps. So if you look the bottom left, that kind of orangish brown box, and it says select owner, advisor, or appoint qualified staff. Good job, you did it. Between me and Robin, you've got your advisors and you've appointed qualified staff in the design and construction committee and Matt. So you're there. You're already on the chart. And you see that we really are still kind of in a planning phase for this thing, but that's okay in this process. We don't have to have that all done before we go procure a design builder because they're going to help us do that. So we're working and we're doing that stuff, but then they're going to come alongside us and help us finish it, right? So and that's kind of what that shows there. There's owner preliminary planning. Select the design builder. That's a process. It's going to take 3 months. Once we initiate that process, it'll take 3 months before we have somebody on board. And then once they get on board, there's this validation box. You see that labeled there, and that's what we're talking about, where you take time out there at the beginning for the design builder to help validate the plan and get everybody on the team to agree or disagree that we've got the right scope versus budget, and that the project is going to succeed, right? So I do that, and that's really good. We move into preliminary design, and you see the cost estimates. So under a normal delivery system, you would start designing, and then when you got 30% of the design done, you'd do an estimate, right? And then you'd find out then whether you're on target or not. And then you design to 60%, you do another estimate, right? With design build, we start with the budget, and then we're continuously updating that budget as the design unfolds, and we're designing to that budget. So it's a difference in thinking, right? Instead of, let's design and then figure out if we're on budget. We're always on budget. The question is, what do we get for that budget, and how do we fit as much as we can under that budget, right? So that's what happens, and then those circles down there are kind of a big part of this of why they have this graphic. They represent. Anywhere along there, you could stop and set your guaranteed maximum price, and that's the time at which the contract moves from a design contract into a construction contract. It's all under one contract, but you issue an amendment when you agree to the GMP, which is the guaranteed maximum price. And then that's when it becomes a construction contract. And you could set that anywhere along the way. You can set it really early if you want. And what this illustrates is if you set it really early, then that's when you're saying, okay, we're locking the budget in, but we are flexible on scope. right? And then you would design forward with that budget first and foremost and be flexible on, but in order to do that, you gotta be flexible on scope, right? And if you wait till later when more of the design has been developed and everything, and then you agree to a GMP, then that's you saying, hey, I know what I need. We need certain scope, and we're flexible on budget, right? So, and anywhere along that spectrum, you could set a GMP. So there's different time points, and part of that will be decided along with the design builder. When does it make the best sense to set the GMP, and what do we know so far, and is it time to set it? Is it not? And what are the implications with funding and things if we set it at a certain time? So that'll be and then the permitting and stuff is all done by the design builder. The design's all done by the design builder, so they're responsible for everything, right? And they will be running the permit process, move into construction. The other advantage to this, and I'll try to sum this up, but the other advantage is that we can do early work, right? We don't have to have the design 100% complete to agree to a GMP and start work on site, right? So that's going to allow us to fast track. And that kind of goes into my report, because one of the things that we've done is we've started the conversation with the city about fast tracking. Some building departments, some municipalities are really resistant to fast tracking. We wanted to find out where we stand on that and whether we can facilitate it, right? So we did start that conversation with the city. It went very well. They are open and cooperative and ready to cooperate with us on fast tracking. What that means is that we might end up pulling a permit for all the underground work before the entire design is done, right? Once we get a design set, we know where we're headed and we know what that is. And with an aquatic center, commonly you build the pool first, right? And then you got to build a building around it. So one of the things that we could possibly do here is we could end up we could end up starting work on underground utilities and all the underground, and maybe even put the pool in while we're putting the finishing touches on the design and deciding what kind of brick to put on the outside or what plants to plant, right? And so that is going to help us pick up speed and efficiency if we can do that. So that's a good benefit of this, and that's what's kind of shown here, that construction can kind of start in there, and design might still be going, and then so Mark, is that what you were looking for?
Yes, exactly. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And board, you can see there's that validation again. Granted, it's not a third, and a third, but it's important.
Right.
So thank you very much, Heath.
Yeah. Okay, and then you want me just to continue with a few other points as a report?
If there's anything that you'd like to report on in excess of that, that'd be great.
Yeah. We had a really great meeting with the city of Pasco folks, and Darcy was there with us, and it was great. And we learned a lot about the process it's going to take to do to issue bond and collect project funds, which is great. Darcy educated us on that. She tried to crush my spirit, but I stood in there. No, it was awesome. It was amazing. Darcy's got that down, and obviously is very supportive of the project, and that's awesome. And so we're in the process now of taking those things that we learned. So we're learning about CTED, Commerce Review. We're learning about bonding. We're learning about what those timelines might look like. We're matching that up with what the procurement for the design builder might look like and when they might start, and trying to figure out how does it all mesh, and are there any parts of it that we need to speed up or slow down so that things hit at the right time. And so far, we think we're arriving at a plan. I just emailed Matt a draft of something that we're working on earlier that he hasn't even had time to look at. We're working on meshing those all together into a master schedule. And so far, it looks like we can, one of the concerns we had was, well, we've got our foot mashed down on the gas on getting a design builder on board and getting going on a design. Are we gonna get out over our skis, right? Because of how fast we're moving and some of these other parts that can't move as fast. But it looks like we can pretty much keep the gas pedal down and get all these things to come together. So far, that's what it looks like. Maybe we got to just tap the brakes just a little, but not a lot. So that's really encouraging, and we're working on that. So coming soon, we'll have kind of a master schedule to show and talk about, and then obviously when we get a design builder on, we'll be building out that schedule because we'll have the whole team. So we just keep building your team is what we're doing, and the team keeps getting bigger, and we'll have almost the entire team when we get that design builder on.
Very good. Any questions for Heath? Okay. Does that complete then item agenda number 9A?
I do see that I forgot there on third page, there's one bullet item. So one more part of my report is about a month from now, I will have been with you for a year. And I'm having a hard time believing that because of so many things we've done and also preparatory things to get a 3-year project going. I, of course, am on a personal services contract through the city vis-a-vis the PFD. I would like to request that I do a review process for what I've done in the past year, what I might anticipate, say, in the coming year. Just a year seems convenient, and if it's okay with the board, I'd like to request that the Audit and Finance Committee, my intention would be to send you, Mark, and you, Caroline, some details about what I've been up to, what I'm planning. Also receive any feedback and from you on how I might be able to do things better. And I think it's important to do a yearly review for that particular position. So I just throw that out there as a request. If that's okay, I'd move forward with that.
Appreciate that. Then would it be okay, Eric, and appropriate that the alternate be included in that email? Otherwise, how is the alternate going to be kept up to speed?
Did you say in the email or in the meeting?
Email.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine why that wouldn't be a problem as
Okay,
long as
good.
there's not going to be any kind of action taken. But yeah, as long as it's just informational only. I wouldn't reply all, but
I would actually think that it would be best to do the two, because if we have a third person in it and only engage the alternate if you or Ms. Bowdish weren't able to review it.
Are you talking the meeting or the email?
I would just anticipating do this as an email. I wouldn't do a meeting unless you all wanted to do that. But I think I could send an email to you and Ms. Bowdish detailing what I've been up to the past year, and go through that process with you too.
Okay. Okay. And if there are any, Darcy, if there are any budget implications to this, you'll update the budget, and also with regards to the various conversations we've had regarding the amount of acreage, that whatever budget implications that may have also,
Yes.
please.
Yes, we'll keep communicating and refining and updating that sheet. And then at some point in time, I think when we feel like we've addressed all the things that we kind of know should be in the budget, it'd be good to actually amend the budget in the accounting software and have you all approve that.
Okay.
So, but I know we're still fine tuning a little bit.
And then when we get to the capital budget time, then of course how this land acquisition affects the capital budget, which then affects the amenities that are available. And so that'll be a whole nother discussion, but thank you. We're not having an executive session tonight. There's nothing planned for executive. Okay. So if that's the case then, and Debbie, thank you for putting it on the agenda here. If everybody would please mark their calendars for Tuesday, August the 15th, 4 p.m., right here again in the city council chambers. And if there's no other business, then it is 5:05 and the meeting's adjourned.